Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and I conduct work life video interviews with career professionals that become an all intuitive conversation. Aloha, welcome to another episode of All Intuitive Conversation. I look forward to connecting with my next guest, Janine Bolon. Bring her to the screen. Aloha, Janine.
Hey, wonderful to see you from we're a mile high in Colorado. So,
Ooh, Colorado.
yeah.
Okay. So, are you from Colorado?
Yes, I am.
Tell me about it.
In what way? Help me out.
Like, like, what do you enjoy living the most about in Colorado?
I would have to say I look at the mountains every day and it's like they're so beautiful that they look like they're photoshopped. And I wish I could say I was
Mm.
the one that came up with that, but it was actually one of my children. We were driving in the car, and every time we come around the corner as we go to this one place for the grocery store, and you can just see the whole front range. And I always go, oh, and we live here. And my children are
Yes.
like, oh my God. And and so one of the fun things with that though is one of the kids one time they were looking out their window and they were like, Mom, the mountains look like they're photoshopped. They're so beautiful today. So
Oh, I love that. So, with your kids, are they older, younger? What's the age range?
my youngest just finally turned 19, but I have four. And so I was a very busy single mom.
Okay. So what's like 19? Is that the oldest or the youngest you said?
She's the youngest.
The
And
youngest.
then I have
Okay.
three sons, and the eldest of which is 26. So
Oh, wow. Yes. I
kind of
love
had them
the young
packed in there.
energy. Yes, you did that. You did that. Okay. So the next question with Colorado, I mean, sound like you said, picture
Mhm.
ideal, perfect kind of thing. Where's another place that you would be willing to live?
Well, that's a difficult question for me because my father was in the military. And
Mm-hmm.
so we've traveled around so many places, and every place we went to, I found amazing things. I found
Mm-hmm.
absolutely incredible things about the place. So to me, I learned that literally I can live anywhere. I can usually find really good things anywhere. I always meet the most incredible people, always have the world's best neighbors. I mean, it's just like, it's
Yes.
really lovely. Yeah. But then
Yeah.
I have that worldview that the world is a friendly place, and not everybody's life experience has led them to that conclusion. So,
Okay. So totally connecting with you because my father was in the military as well. And so we moved around from place to place. So definitely get that. But what connected me with that last part you said, not everyone can, find the good basically of where they're living. So what's the story behind that for you being able to do that?
um, I think it was just making the active choice. It's not like I could go on about the drama and the trauma, and I could bring that whole story, to the forefront, but I really chose to see humanity for its best because I saw so much of the people around me looking at humanity through the lens of the worst. And
Mm,
I just felt like the people that are operating on a day-to-day basis with their best don't get enough airtime. I mean, look at you, Felicia. You're sitting here doing these card readings,
yeah.
free of charge. You're doing them for everybody. Everybody can see what you're expressing. And just 15 years ago, it was terrifying. You did this in closed rooms and
Right.
seances because you didn't want to be the crazy person, right? You didn't want to be that
Yeah.
insane person. I'm an analytical biochemist, for crying out loud. I make drugs for a living, legal ones, but I made like pharmaceuticals, for a living. And then when I had some experiences that were very amazing and incredible and wonderful, I dropped out of that corporate environment and
Hmm.
started running my own business. And so the reason I have the worldview of the world is really a friendly place is if you choose to look at it, you will find your support structure, but you do have to look for it. And if you don't make that choice, then it's very easy to backslide and think the world is not a good place, especially if
Hmm.
you are heavily into media. Yeah.
Uh, yes. So, so I was, as you know, it was
I know that's a no duh. Sorry. No duh.
yes. So I was already shuffling, of course, to connect. And the very first one that had came out for light workers, because we had used that word when we were briefly talking in the beginning. I was like, oh, this is the reason why that. And Rhonda talks about soul flame. And at the bottom of her card, it says, rediscover a lost part of yourself, experience relationship harmony and healing. And so, this reminded me of you because of the what I noticed was the blue. I
Mm,
mean, I went all the way from the blue to the your
mm.
headphones all around her head,
Right?
just like her little swan thing, and then her blue outfit. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, and the flowers on your background
You
are kind of like
betcha.
so I was like, okay, so Janie
She
is
also has
coming.
this song. So I was raised with a song, and it's a Rada, Rada, Rada,
See,
go into Jai,
see,
Rada, 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 go into Jai, spirit and nature dancing together, spirit and nature dancing together. So it's a whole series, but it's a Hindu tradition. So just wanted to bring that out when you flip that card up. I'm like, cool, I get to sing.
well, yeah, because this
Thank you,
is.
Felicia. Thank you
I
for
was
giving
like,
me that opportunity.
like I said, this was your Rada energy coming out. I was like, that's what it's emanating. So you got to sing that whole song. Love that. See,
Thank you.
I love this whole thing about this, right? And then the next one that came out was talking about again another angel that's dressed in all blue. And what I was noticing, then holding, her heart and her energy. And it says, listen to your intuition and pay attention to signs from the divine. Unnecessary worry. Let go of your fears. Revelations that will make everything clear. And so that was falling in line with what you were talking about, even like for me, of like, yo, you would do this behind the scenes. And that was like one of the whole fears of exactly. Because when my team came in and said, oh, yeah, we want you to do these conversations, because I would have regular networking behind the scenes, right? Like, no, we want you to do them publicly on LinkedIn. I was like, you want me to do what and where? I was like, there may be a day that I need to go back to a corporate job or something. I was just like, LinkedIn. I was like, come on. But it's like the whole thing of saying, where was I? Where do I want you to be able to go and to connect and reach with the individuals where you were at, as they say, hiding in plain sight.
Mhm.
And so it was like, okay, got that. And so now what brought me to is this whole other lady that came out, but now she's wearing
Mm,
green
mhm,
and she has this whole purse and she has the money and she talks about resources. So you talked about the transition from going from corporate to your own business. Tell me
mhm.
more about what that decision was like for you.
Oh, it was highly traumatizing, mainly
Hmm.
because, the reason for it was I had been married for 10 years. I'd been working in the pharmaceutical industry for 15 and no children. And so I was a career corporate woman, and this is back
Uh-huh.
in the Wayback Machine of 1992, 1990, 1995. It's in the midst of AIDS and
Oh.
HIV. And we
Mm-hmm.
didn't call it HIV because as scientists, we were desperately trying to come up with antiviral compounds. Oh, interesting. Look where we are now. But
Yeah.
anyway, it
Right.
was back in that time when we were working on antivirals to help save lives at that point. So I was into automation and robotics, and it was a worldwide situation. And so I was traveling extensively, and all of a sudden, I had the flu that wouldn't go away.
Mm.
I was pregnant. I just thought it was the flu. So,
Yeah.
yes, it was like, "Excuse me, I'm what?
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yes.
pushing 40 and you're telling me I'm what?"
Mhm. Yes.
So, I decided now we didn't have maternity care, we didn't have all the stuff we do now. It was a very different environment in corporate, especially in the sciences. You were
Hmm.
expected to be a very different type of woman than what is expected now. Thank the Lord above. Okay. And
Mhm.
so I chose to drop out of the workforce and be a full time stay at home mom. And I was married at the time. And I did
Yeah.
that for many, many years and homeschooled my own children and all that kind of stuff. But I always had a side business. I always had a business on the side that was bringing in extra income because I felt that if I just dropped out of corporate America and became a stay-at-home mom, my brains would dribble out through my ears, hence why I have the headphones to keep my brains in, but
Uh-huh.
so
Uh-huh.
that's what drove that decision, and because of that, I stayed highly connected into the internet. You have to remember, we didn't have Bluetooth yet, and Wi-Fi wasn't a thing,
Right. So,
and
yeah.
so as technology changed, I stayed with it and I was considered the geek mom. And so I did a lot of teaching in the homeschool environment and mom schools is what they called it at the time.
Okay. So, transition on your business, loving that with
You bet.
the whole
The card, you got the card on it and everything.
there,
Well
like I
done.
said, we co-creating this experience, right? This is you and just the whole energy with that. Okay, so when I go to your profile, because like I said, one of the things we talk about is that I don't do a whole bunch of research on my guests. And with you, when you were talking, you immediately kind of went into sharing some of your books.
Mm. Hmm.
So I want you to tell me again about these books now for the privilege of everyone that's kind of watching the books that
Okay.
you have.
All right. Well, I don't mind sharing my books, but it's just the very personal experience I had. Ever since I was very
Um,
young, I have always wanted to know the mind of God. I wanted to
mhm,
know what was this 10 commandment thing all about, and what was this thing about Christianity, the golden rule. The golden rule, I saw it in like 5 or 6 different types of religions that I was exposed to growing up because my dad was in the military, as we said. And so
mhm,
I that was something I always wanted to know. And I had a guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, and for 25 years I practiced Kriya yoga. But people would go, "Oh, so you're not Christian?" And I was like, "No,
mm,
I'm very much Christian." It's like if anything, it took a Hindu yogi guru to teach me how to be the best Christian I could possibly be. So I was raised Irish
yeah,
Catholic, so kind of get an idea there. And
mhm,
just a wee bit of structure in my life.
mhm, yeah, just a little
After
bit.
25 years of meditating and following the practices of Paramahansa Yogananda, I received enlightenment on December 26th, 2010,
Oh, the day
and
after.
a day
Mhm,
after Christmas. Yep.
yes.
And so it took 7 years after that before I could start writing about the experience and sharing it with people. But around 2015, I wrote Seeking the Divine, which was the first book, An Intimate Journey into the World of Mysticism. And that's
Mm,
where I was trying to help my Christian network realize that there were Christian mystics and these were the experiences, and this is kind of how it's
mhm,
related to in the Bible. And I wasn't really trying to convince anybody not to be anything that they were. I was just trying to share with them about what it meant to be a mystic, which is a very experiential spirituality.
yeah.
The second book is Finding the Divine, and that's a glimpse into the realm of God. And that was the series of experiences that I had over the next 3 days after I woke up, where I was literally being
Mm,
run through. Uh, as Jesus says, Father's many rooms and a very large mansion. I was being run through a lot of those things, and so that's my experience with that. And
mhm,
because I have quite a little following from my readers, thank you, my beta readers, and everybody
yes.
who do that. Anyway, they were like, okay, well, Ginny and I have also had an awakening experience, so I've also had mystic experiences. Isn't there something that you can help us with that? And so I wrote a guidebook for the enlightened soul, and that's called Expressing the Divine. And so
Yes.
the fourth book is going to be Creating with the Divine, where I connect with the Native Americans and we talk about wheel walking and that sort of thing. And we talk about how you create the experience that you want through your mystical expressions. So that's next year.
Well, you definitely have a plan. So I'm loving that. It's interesting because tell me about the alignment between that. Because when I initially look at your LinkedIn page, I don't sense that.
No, no, that's my business. So LinkedIn is my business, right? And
Mm,
so I run a broadcasting company, and we do podcasts and we do radio shows and blah blah blah. So that's what makes the money.
mhm.
So if you go to my Facebook page, that's where you'll see some of the woo woo and that sort of thing. So I decided to split up the there you go.
Making uh-huh.
I decided to split up my social media so that it would actually show all aspects of me. And then if you go onto my Instagram account, that's where you'll see me as an artist and an illustrator. So one of the things that people
Hmm.
like myself and you have is that uh, humanity, we're not we're not uh, two-dimensional or one-dimensional, we're multidimensional.
Multifaceted, yes.
And we're multifaceted. And
Mm,
so when marketing professionals tell people like me, you need to focus on one thing and one thing that you sell, and you need to be known for this one thing. And I'm like, I am not a cardboard cutout any more than what Felicia Miller Johnson is, right?
right.
That's insane. Now, you can call yourself the intuitive life coach, but we all know there's a lot more behind this amazing woman than this little tagline. However,
Mhm.
search engine optimization and all that kind of stuff kind of forces even our beautiful influencers, the ones who are desperately trying to uplift humanity. The one that made a huge impression on my children was Katy Perry. Even
Hmm.
people like her, you could see her struggling against the marketing machine trying to nail her down as to like your only one thing when she's an artist that's all over the map. She had that Super Bowl show
Performance.
that she
Mhm.
did that had everything from puppeteers to high wire. And I was looking at the teams of people trying to keep that woman safe. She's running around, right?
Yeah,
And
between her and Pink.
yeah, correct, right?
Flying around.
Try to,
Mhm.
how do you label Pink? I seriously, are you going to tell me this woman is a cardboard cutout? Absolutely not. It would have been crazy to say that. So
Yeah.
those are just two examples, but that's the challenge, right? You're a
Mhm.
multi-dimensional, multifunctional, highly inspired creative. And those are all very general terms, but that's how I see most of humanity.
Yeah.
And then we have this SEO marketing machine. As a business owner, I'm very aware of this because I run 9 different websites. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm working on book number 12. Right.
Yeah.
I write in 4 different genres, and of course, I broadcast 5 different, podcasts and radio shows. And with all of that, you're telling me that I can only define myself using
Hmm.
12 terms or 11 terms, right?
Mhm.
And so that's the frustration. So when you go to LinkedIn, yeah, how do you share all that without just causing the AI to flip a gid, right?
Yes. So that's why I was surprised because, like I said, I don't do any research, but I was like, when I pulled up your profile, I was just like, I don't necessarily see that
Mhm.
piece of it, but that goes to one of the benefits of having these in conversations because you
Mhm.
find out more about individuals, right? So then the next thing I had pulled up was this listen card, but she's also sitting by the river. She's also wearing her headphones.
Seems to be a theme.
Seems to be a theme. And then desire and the
Mm.
whole just the thing about as you go back to the Christianity and Eve taking this whole bite of this apple and it just changes society and how we all played out. So the question that I have been channeled to ask you, what is it that you desire that if you take a bite of the apple
Mm.
that would change society?
That's interesting. You should ask that because it's like you're inspired or something.
Hmm.
But no, the thing is my original desire was I wanted to know the mind of God. I had questions,
Mhm.
bleep bleep bleep, and I wanted to know bleep 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 what the
Which is
bleep you were
what
thinking.
Eve said she wanted to do, right? She wanted to be like God and know the mind of God kind of thing. Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
And of
Mhm.
course, you say that to a priest and they get very nervous very fast because it's like, look, you don't have answers. The sweet Pope doesn't have the answers that I need here in North America as I raise my 4 children, and I'm going to this incredibly inspired literature that is in
Yeah.
front of me, and I am seeking with every fiber of my being, and I realized I had to stop scholarship, which is kind of tough on me because I'm a
Mm,
scholar from the get-go. But,
yeah.
stop the scholarship and go into the experiential, and I found my answers through mysticism. So what was my big desire got answered on December 26th of 2010.
Mm,
Got all those answers, and I had an experience, and I talk about it in my book, Finding the Divine, which is volume 2. But I talk about that experience in Finding the Divine, where I am standing there in the presence of the divine.
hmm,
I am in the presence of God, and he says to me, "I love you so much you can change anything.
hmm,
Change anything. I'll change it in a heartbeat for you." Now, trust me when I say this, he would say that to any of us. I'm not special. I'm not
hmm,
better than any other soul that is walking around this planet in a meat sack. Okay?
mhm,
I am not special in that way. But I know with every fiber of my being, all the way down to my bones, how much God loves me. Okay? And it's
mm,
not just God, it's the divine, because I found the word God to be so limiting and too tiny for
mm,
what I experience. So that's why I say the divine, because that's the word that kept coming to me, instead of the word God was way too limiting. It's too much of a box around that.
mm,
And he
mhm.
said, "You can change anything. So what do you want me to do?" So I'm a typical. I feel I'm a typical mom in this way. Well, I'm not going to make this decision when it affects 8 billion people. You know what I mean? Which one of us, I mean, really, and this is me with my rose colored glasses on, which one of us would really say, okay, I'm going to make the decision for all 8 billion humans on planet Earth right now? No,
Right.
I was raised in America and I love the principles of democracy. We may not practice it, but I love the principles anyway. And
Mhm.
so I sent out a soul call and said, "What do you guys want? We have an opportunity here to change anything. What do you want?" And
Yes.
I have this experience where all 8 billion souls responded back to me. And you don't have to agree with me with what I experienced. I tell this to people all the time. But what I
Mm,
experienced in that moment was everybody was getting exactly what they wanted for themselves.
mm,
And so I said, don't change a thing. Everybody's getting what they want. And you have to be at a pretty high frequency to understand what that means for you. And that's why you have so many of these beautiful light workers like Felicia here and others that you have listened to. I'm sure if you're listening to her show, I know you're listening to others, but that's why they say, what was the worst thing that ever happened to you in your life? And how did it make you who you are today? Constantly
yeah.
flipping that, what did life in your mind do to you?
To, yeah,
And you
juicy.
flip that around and you say, what did life give me that
Mm,
changed and altered me so much that I am now this person that I am today? So I could go into a lot of drama, I could go into a lot of trauma, and I could sit here
yes.
and really go into that frequency. Or I could say, okay, enough of this. I want to talk to the man behind the curtain. I want to talk to the man in charge.
Mhm,
And it took me
mhm.
25 years, but I got that guy's attention. And once I wrestled the big JC down and had him in a 3-point hold, and then I said, "Talk
Now, for
to me,
you,
and
those
I'm
that
gonna."
are watching, JC, I know what
Oh,
that. I know
oh,
Jesus Christ, right?
yeah, the Jesus Christ, right? Yeah,
Yes.
the big JC. And I say that because to some of my Christian friends, they were waiting, they were ducking and weaving because they were waiting
Mm.
for the lightning to hit because I was being so um, informal.
Love that. So I was doing the whole chakra at this time, and the energy and the connection is like, okay, so based off of what Janine is sharing, what is that something else that we can go alongside in supporting that? And it came out with the whole third chakra in the
Ooh,
solar plexus, which has to deal with the confidence, the courage to making those decisions. And that's something that what I hear through your story of doing that, because I can relate to that same as well. Like, I was a sign language interpreter, in a Christian environment, and it's like from where I am now, that'd be one of the first person like, well, where's JC at in your life now? And all these different things. And I'm like, he's still right here. Like, we're still we're still kicking it. But it's being open to that. And so it literally says here, freedom of choice, which connects about what you had that desire for people. Like, you can choose what you want. I'm not choosing for every person, making that decision for 8 million people, but rather it says I have the freedom to choose. So I choose wisely because my decisions have a great impact on how I see myself and how I feel about myself. I own, accept, and express my feelings unreservedly, and I do not try to escape them with my own mind games. I have free will to choose how I respond to any situation. I choose to respond with wisdom, clarity, and understanding.
So kudos to you for picking the card, and kudos to the artist and the intuitive that made those cards.
Right?
Right? So it's like it's all around us. I don't have a hold on this. I'm not the only one getting the info.
Mm-mm.
There's a lot of people getting the info, but it can be terrifying to
Mhm.
break out of that Christian box, out of your Catholic box, out of your Jewish box, because
Right.
there are a lot of people who are very envious of you when you start saying things like, yeah, I was sitting in meditation and, I had a conversation with Mother Mary and she helped me understand what was going wrong with my kid. You know,
Mhm.
the kid had a
Yeah.
101-degree fever and the mother was freaking out. And I asked her, well, have you gone into meditation? And I have, for my Catholic friends, I know their icons, I know their saints that
Yes,
they
they're
have
saints.
preferences for, right?
Mhm.
Oh, come on, we got a saint for everything. Just ask us, we've got one. And and so,
Yes.
you pray to that particular saint. And so all of a sudden, a lot of these people that I was being that were being drawn to me were expressing how they were starting to see their clairvoyance was kicking on. Well, there's no one that has a single market on this. Every
No
human
one.
being walking the
Mm-mm.
planet can be clairvoyant. However, your gifts may come out as clairaudient first or clairgustance. Like you may start tasting things even though you're not eating them. That's a fun one. When
That's
you
a
get
whole
that one,
nother.
it's a whole that's the 5 clairs that you got going on. Yeah. But
Indeed.
anyway, so that's yeah, so I just want to acknowledge you and the work that you've had to go through to get here.
No. Well,
Mhm.
thank you. I
Mhm.
acknowledge you as well for being present with me and co-creating this experience. And we acknowledge you for those that are watching right here today live and or that's going to see the recording in the future. And so I hope you heard something that encouraged you to live smart and ascend to new levels of success in your work life. And until we meet again next week, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and this has been an All Intuitive Conversation.